it doesn't have that self-inspiration from grandfathers being on a farm and grandmothers and growing up on farms. It's going to come from self-inspiration, kind of what Laurie was talking about. But if we really look at the question and say, how do we inspire people to farm? I know it's a tough one, but what kind of action could we take to do that?
Is maybe treating farming and labeling it more like a spiritual experience. It's good for your overall well-being, for your relieving stress, for just connecting with nature, improving karma. Throwing all those things together, and just like how the yoga movement has really taken off in these last few years, I think we can apply those sort of principles to growing your own food.
We need to support the links between farmers to be, people that are interested in farming, and the local consumers. And I think we can do this through public education about food security and growing food in a sustainable way, giving grants to farmers to support them in their work, providing accessible farmland of unused areas that are arable, and through supporting the local farmers markets to really be an outlet and distribution source.
I really strongly believe that people should be free to produce food and not be hampered by government at any level. So that's my big bugbear. I was raised in the Caribou, and people could produce their own food. They could supply their food. They got to do, whatever they wanted, pretty much. And we all were very happy and healthy and lived a really nice life.
A passion in regard to inspiring people to farm on the coast has to start here. So I'm inspiring myself, and I feel like the land is actually inspiring me. And that a lot of this comes from how we grow up and how we're birthed into the world, how we're educated in the early part of our lives.
Education, right? Kind of like an outreach to have farming being popular here.
I could see something like that. Backyard bounty. I mean, why couldn't they be going into schools and talking about what it means to farm and what the pros are? And
what about, how kids do the co-op? They go and they work somewhere. I wouldn't want to say work, but they could come... Intern, yeah.
Internships.
They could come to working farms. I think one of the things is it's a community putting value on it, right? Community, that's where you need to start. As one value.
I think it's a great idea.
Through my passion for it, not through my guilting, to inspire my friends in the city who are growing on their balconies now, and even if it's just herb gardens. And I feel, last summer I just lived off my land.
And so to me, zoning is really important. And it's called R5 zoning, something like that. In that particular region anyway, but rural residential zoning. And that, to me, would really open up things.
We're still talking about the three main things to get out of all this?
The three statements we want to, for other people to hear when we sort of finish this.
Well, I'm sort of leaning towards provincial legislation being changed for ALR land.
To bolster it.
Yeah, to strengthen it, and I think that'll, like I said, achieve those two objectives of lowering the price for farmers to buy land and cause the land that is in the ALR to be utilized for farming.
How about if you look at your government building up a land bank of that can be farmed. So when Alain wants to grow his kale, a land will put the effort in and he'll do all these things, but he may be able to apply to the land bank and actually get the land without having to pay his $800,000. So that would be support from the district, from the local government. The cultural norm.
Yeah, the cultural norm. What, I mean, can you go expand that a little more?
The more people grow food, now it's starting, right?
Yeah.
All right. The more that people grow their food, the more it becomes a thing to do, right? And so you don't say, oh, I'm going down to Super Value to buy my lettuce, because really everybody around you is growing their lettuce. So it is kind of, that's one way of just kind of...
it's peer pressure on a macro level.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. It's just like at this point in time, you go to a grocery store and they say paper or plastic and you're supposed to have a cloth bag, right?
That's right.
And what's really been surprising lately is that people in line who don't have cloth bags, rather than saying, I don't have cloth bag, give me plastic, will say, oh, I forgot my cloth bag,
Yes.
right? I don't know whether they did forget their cloth bag or not, but I think that's because there's this kind of cultural peer pressure that says bring your... So that's the same kind of argument, I think.
Or picking their own dinner. I'm excited to have my nephew, and I know he'll be excited to be picking his own raspberries and vegetables out of the garden for dinner, because they eat frozen vegetables in the middle of the summer in Ontario. And you know, it's crazy.
I can remember my son and I walking around the perimeter of our little bit of property on Chamberlain Road, and him picking the raspberries and the strawberries when they were both ready at the same time to put it on his cereal in the morning. Warm from the sun, you know, not cold from the fridge.
We want peer pressure, encourage peer pressure to increase food production.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raise awareness.
Okay. Hang on. What do you want to know? Okay.
Trying to keep eggs in the fridge at a certain degree. Is that because those eggs that you buy that are from these big force-fed, is it because of the preservatives in the food they eat that they don't last on the shelf like they should?
And it's also, those eggs are traveling, they're being gathered, they're traveling. By the time they get to us, they could be as much as a month old. Whereas when you get the eggs from your local farmer, they actually say that eggs are meant to be kept at room temperature. They're meant not to be washed in cold water or warm water, because that draws out the natural protectants in the shell of the egg. So we're doing things that aren't based in the reality of food safety. We're doing things based on like an industrial corporate model of food security, which is a dangerous world, right? It's mechanization, it's huge transportation, it's needing those antibiotics, preservatives, and all that. So they have these crazy standards, which are meant for food security, but they're actually not good for the health of their food. So, and